Hello and welcome to my channel. I have a very special video today. So my friend Lorna from the Nail Crusade does history of nail art. And this month she's doing my favorite decade ever, the 1980s. I'm an 80s person. I will always be an 80s person, and I love the 80s. So I'm going to be using these two creations by Free Polishes, the black and the white, for the background of my nails. I have these La Katrina colors because they're bright neon and they glow. So I have Memories, If You Hadn't Gone, Hope, and An Offering. And these are absolutely the most gorgeous glow-in-the-dark colors that you can imagine. So you should head on over to La Katrina and take a look. Okay, so I'm going to pull up my inspiration picture because I designed it ahead of time and I just want to have it just in the background so I can hopefully keep on track here. Because, you know, I do tend to go off in tangents. So let's talk about the 80s. Why is the 1980s so special? I think the 80s are so special because it was just a time of innocence. At least to me it was. And the things were just being discovered. Like, we did not have cell phones. We did not have Spotify or Amazon, or we didn't have any of those conveniences. If you wanted to buy something, you went to the mall. It was that simple. And you wanted to hang out with your friends, you were like a preteen, you went to the mall. You hung out at the mall. You went to the movies. You know, I remember meeting up with my friends and we went to see a Friday the 13th movie. And of course, I don't even think we were old enough to get in at the time. They actually carded you to get into a rated R movie, and we had to lie. And we lied for her brother so she could get in too. I mean, it's Friday the 13th. It's not like we're going into a XXX movie or something like that. So, yeah. So I just think it was fun. The music, the fashion, it was just an amazing time to be alive and to grow up in the 80s. Oops. Did we have our issues? Of course, everybody has issues. But I don't remember anything that, well, I shouldn't say that. There were some things that were pretty scary in the 80s. But I'm not going to touch on those things. That's not what my video is about. My video is about what makes what brought me joy in the 80s. So I'm just going to paint these and then I'm going to give them a second coat. And then I will be back. Okay, I'm back and I want to try and do a little bit of splatter painting. So while I'm trying to figure this out, because I've never done this before. I mean, I've read about it, but I've never done it. So we're gonna see how this works. I'm really not sure if this is gonna work at all, because I don't even know how to splatter paint on. Probably need a lot more polish than that. So let's see. All right, it's a little bit. I mean, it's really just a little bit. I don't want to waste all my polish though. If this isn't going to work, I might just do something else. Yeah. So I don't know if I need to do regular polish or whatever, but let's see if we can just do it like that instead. All right, so let's talk about the 80s. So we'll start with 1980s. The 1980s. We'll start with 1980. I'll get this right. And again, like I said, no smartphones, no streaming services, no portable music. Doesn't really show up on the black, but. And there was no social media at all. So things were a little simpler back then. And I know people always say that, oh, you drank from the hose. Yeah, we drank from the hose. It was not a big deal. You know, you didn't have to run inside to get a drink. The hose was right there. The water was good. It was fresh. It was delicious. It was icy cold. You know, it wasn't dirty. I don't know why people make such a big deal about it. I'll still drink from the hose now. I don't care if I'm outside and I don't feel like going in the house. That's pretty good, actually. Okay, so I'm gonna put this in the lamp and cure this. Let me get my phone strap out of the way. So I'm just gonna give this a quick cure so I can go into the next color. Hopefully get the color off the paintbrush, off the toothbrush here. And if you wanted, you know, if you wanted to listen to music, you had to buy records or cassettes. And, you know, you always had a radio. Well, I always had a radio in my room because I always listened to music. And my parents always listened to music. I listened to their music. I listened to my own music. And, you know, things were made a little simpler when the Walkman came out, which was in 1979. But it became huge in the 80s. And, you know, pretty much everybody had a Walkman. They were pretty easy to get. They were fairly inexpensive. And, you know, you got to listen to your favorite music. And what we used to do, because again, you know, we didn't have any recording services or anything, we would record songs off the radio. Like, you would hope that one of your favorite artists would come on and you could record the song on a cassette, and then you would make a bunch of those recordings and you would play it in your Walkman. Or you would buy the 45, like I used to buy 45s of artists. Just, you know, the one song that I liked. If I didn't have the money for the whole album, I would just go to Sam Goody's and buy a 45. As a matter of fact, I still have all those 45s and I still have all my albums because I have a record player still. And I do. I like to hear that scratchiness of an album. And I know my husband doesn't like it, but I love to hear that. To me, it just makes the music sound better. And again, that might sound weird to some people, and it might just be a nostalgia thing, but I really like that. And I have collector's albums. I have, we used to have a place where I grew up in Lake Ronkonkoma. We had a place called Record Stop, and I used to go there after high school. I used to walk there, and I used to see what new albums they had out, and I used to get English import albums from groups that I liked. So there was one group I really loved called The Lover Speaks, and I have their album still, but I always wanted to get it on CD, but I can't find it on CD. It's probably not in print anymore. But I have so many Duran Duran imports from England because I was a huge Duran Duran-y. That's what we were called back then. And I have all their albums, everyone on CD, everyone on LP. Yeah, I'm just a huge fan. So I'm gonna have to go back in, I think, with the black and maybe with a dotting tool or something, get some more color on there. Okay, let's clean this off. But I mean, pretty much the Walkman changed everything, you know, people being able to transport music wherever they went, you know, and it was private. It was, you put your headphones on and you just disappeared basically You know, you could just listen to your own music. You didn't have to listen to everybody else's music. It was nice. And then, you know, again, when you were a kid and you wanted to hang out with your friends, you'd go to the arcade. And you just used to spend your allowance at the arcade. There were so many great games. I was a pinball person. I loved playing pinball. I still like playing pinball, even though I don't play it anymore. But I used to love playing the pinball machines. Again, because don't have the eye-hand coordination to play the regular video games. So pinball was my thing. And I used to go spend a couple of bucks, you know, when I was at the mall, just playing pinball. And we had like Centipede, Pac-Man, Donkey Kong. I mean, this was the era that introduced video games. And I know all the kids think, oh, you know, you guys are old farts. We might be, but without us, you wouldn't have all the video games you have now. That's for sure. Because we were the guinea pigs. We were the video game guinea pigs. I mean, I remember having the Atari. And I used to play a game called Number Crunch. And we used to play Tank and Pong. And, you know, simple, really, I don't even know, bit, I guess you might call it, games where you just had like little shapes. You didn't even have like these AI images that are there now where everything looks so realistic. And it was fun. It was fun, and we just had a great time playing. You know, your friends would come over, you'd sit in front of the console, you play for a little bit, and then your parents were like, all right, go outside, go do something, no more video games. And we did. We went outside and played. And then on my birthday, which I think is so cool, in 1981, August 1st, MTV launched. And that changed the generation. That was I think it was one of the most important pop culture things to ever happen to music was MTV. It brought your favorite artists right to your doorstep. You could sit and watch MTV for hours and you could watch your favorite artists sing. And I remember Buggles' Video Killed the Radio Star, the first video that ever appeared on MTV. And I remember being there. I remember sitting there watching this because my parents did have cable. And it was just amazing to me. And I mean, every day when I would come home from school, I would throw MTV on and I would try to catch Duran Duran. And, you know, and it was amazing. I don't even know how to describe it because MTV's not even around anymore. MTV is not MTV. You know, VH1 came after, and VH1 was okay, but MTV was the start of it all, you know. This looks too much like dots. Let's break this up a little bit. And then you had your MTV VJs, Martha Quinn and Alan Hunter. And there were a couple other ones that I can't remember them. But they're still on Sirius radio. You can still hear them on the the 80s channel, you know, talking about all those wonderful 80s bands. So I had quite a few favorite bands besides Duran Duran. I mean, they were just like my ultimate favorite band ever. Still to this day, I just, you know, whenever I hear them, I'm just happy. So, I love to listen to Depeche Mode and The Cure, Susie and the Banshees. I was more into the new wave part of the 80s, so even some of the darker, like Susie and the Smiths, like the darker new wave stuff was my favorite. I mean, there's a song by the Smiths called Girlfriend in a Coma, and I just used to listen to that song over and over because I just liked it. And then, you know, there's The Cure, another really great band. And then there were the fun bands like the Flock of Seagulls and I'm trying to think, Yaz. Loved Yaz. And then, you know, bands like Echo and the Bunnymen and Flesh for Lulu and Erasure. I remember I was introduced to Erasure at a Duran Duran concert. They opened for Duran Duran, and I was blown away by how good they were. And then that next day, I was down at GameStop buying their album because they were just fantastic. Yes, I did go to see Duran Duran in concert many times, many times. And then there was the B-52s and the Talking Heads, In Excess, the Pet Shop Boys, New Order, Human League. I wasn't a huge Human League fan, but you know, we'll give them a shout out. And then let's not forget 80s hair. Oh my goodness. Aquanet just was the bomb. And then they came out with like Stiff Stuff. Oh, and then later on came like the Aussie one, which smelled like grape, which was good. But curling irons, teasing your hair, like so your hair was like 2 feet out of your head. Yeah, it was fun. You know, back in the 80s, you wore makeup and you just, I don't know, I think you looked good every day. It wasn't as casual as things are today. I don't think, you know, everybody kind of dressed up, tried to look nice. We had the preps, we had, you know, the punks, we had the people who dressed like new age, we had the big shoulder pads, you know, we had the break dancers, which was huge. I remember being in like 9th and 10th grade and my friends would be break dancing in the hallway after lunch. And no, they didn't get in trouble. There was plenty of room and everybody would just stand around and watch them. So it was a lot of fun. All right, so we need to get some stamping done here. So I'm going to try and make, try is the operative word, to make a grid. I'm not sure it's going to work, but let's see. So yeah, breakdancing was really cool, and it wasn't like that really bad woman in the Olympics. She was awful. I really don't know what she was doing, but they were talented. You know, my friends who did it. I never did it. It was not my thing, breakdancing. Again, no coordination, so I did not breakdance. But I'm sorry, I'm just remembering some of the times in the hallways. Yeah, because my friend Mike, that was his name, Mike. I'm not going to say his last name. But he was immensely talented, so I don't know where he is today, but yeah, it was fun. Let me get this off here so I can use these lines. You know, we had parachute pants, and I know Jennifer Coolidge does a commercial about them, which is really funny, actually. How many pairs of parachute pants can you have? I don't know. Can you have enough? I'm not sure. But yeah, then we had those huge shoulder pads, which I wasn't really a fan of, but that's fashion for you. Sometimes you like it, sometimes you don't. Let's kind of messed up right here. I'm not sure. I don't think I'm going to use this. It's too much of a pain. The nail's too long to keep, and I don't have an image that's long enough to make a grid, so we're gonna do without. So let's talk about some of the fashion from the 80s, shall we? Let's see. Sorry, I'm just trying to bring my image up because I'm losing focus here. Okay. So, we've got our neons, obviously. The 80s were huge for neons, and I remember when Wham came out, and they did Wake Me Up Before You Go Go, very neon, the whole scene, the stage, the white shirts with all the neon images. It was just pretty awesome. So I'm going to pick up some of these Dungeons and Dragons dice because that was huge in the 80s. I remember we actually had a club in school where we would go into the chemistry room after school and we would play Dungeons and Dragons with our friends. And I know some people had an issue with it, but there really was no issue. There was nothing wrong with it. It was just a fantasy game. And, you know, people take everything to extremes, but we just used to go and we used to have fun. We used to hang out with our friends. We used to laugh. We used to do a scenario or an act. And then we used to go home. You know, we had a teacher present because we always had to have a teacher present because, you know, we were in a classroom. But there was never any issues. It was just a lot of fun. I really enjoyed, let's see if I can fix that. I enjoyed playing it. And then, you know, like I said in one of my other videos, you know, I continued playing with my family. Now, we haven't played in a few months because everybody's been pretty busy, but, you know, it's just a fun game to play, making up stories and going around killing monsters and whatnot. What's not fun about that? I think I digressed again. Oh, yes, animal prints. Steven Tyler, David Lee Roth. We'll get into them hopefully in a little bit. But yeah, animal prints were huge, especially neon animal prints, and leg warmers, which I loved my leg warmers. My Capezio shoes, I loved those. White shoes that laced up. Then I had these really cool pair of boots. They were white leather boots with like turquoise studs, and there was fringe that hung off the sides of the boot. Oh, they were so pretty. I loved those boots. They were so much fun. Okay, so now we're gonna pick up these images, but I don't remember what colors they were. I want to get the right colors, so 1 second. Okay, I got the order now. So let's go back to the fashion. We also had the scrunchy socks, which were, I miss scrunchy socks. Keds and scrunchy socks were just awesome. Sounds silly, but they were so comfortable. And yeah, sometimes we wore 2 pairs of scrunchy socks. And I loved them. Things I miss about the 80s. It's the simple things sometimes, you know, that just brings happiness. Makes you feel good. And scrunchy socks is one of those things. And then we had big earrings, which I still wear to this day. I'll never stop wearing big earrings. Members only jackets. Yeah, that wasn't my thing. I didn't wear a members only jacket. And let's see what, oh, jelly shoes. I didn't like jelly shoes. They just made your feet too sweaty, and they were so uncomfortable. your feet would be slipping and sliding around them. Couldn't stand jelly shoes. They were just gross. And I know they've made a comeback, but you're not going to see me in jelly shoes anytime soon. And we had our high top Reeboks and Nikes. We had off the shoulder sweaters or sweatshirts, especially the sweatshirts, and that I think that's because of Flashdance. Because that was the style in the movie, and that movie was huge. Back then, we had acid wash jeans, which I loved, and I'm pretty sure those have made a comeback as well. And, you know, fingerless gloves. I think those are just, those are just still around. I think fingerless gloves are just popular no matter what. And swatches. I don't know if anybody remembers swatches, a Swatch watch. I have a collection of swatches. My husband, he was my boyfriend at the time, used to buy me swatches. And I have the Olympic swatch. A couple of Olympic swatches, and they were just fancy they were just watches with rubber wristbands that had designs on them. They were just really cool, honestly. They were a lot of fun to wear, and you could change the bands out and stuff. And we had charm bracelets and friendship bracelets, banana clips, which I could not use. My hair was too fine, and banana clips would just fall out of my hair. Yeah, I didn't like those at all. So let me find some other. I want this one. I want to do the video game console right here. I'm going to do that in black. And then, let's see, technology. You know, home computers started getting big. We took computer classes in middle school. We used to do DOS. We used to make a little guy do jumping jacks. It was lame. It was run, stop, run, go. It was yeah, pathetic. But we did it. We learned it. It was what we had to do. We actually had to take the course. So then we had to take more computer courses in high school. Yeah, so I'm sorry, I'm laughing because it's now that, you know, you think about it, it was kind of it was very simplistic to what is out now. Like, I couldn't even imagine doing any kind of computer stuff now because it's just so complicated. I'm sorry, I'm just sitting here remembering the little guy doing the jumping jacks. I have to fix this line. Just give me 1 second. Let me find a fine. Nope, that's not fine at all. Wow, look how thick. Look at that brush. That is not a fine brush. It's a nice brush, but it's not fine. Let's see this one. This will work. Just gonna try and fix this a little bit because I didn't get the top. Sorry, I was holding my breath on that one, so I didn't screw it up. Okay, so let's pick up this little game controller here for like a Nintendo. Ugh, and we had floppy disks. Oh my goodness, what a pain those were. They were flexible discs that you would put into the computer to save your work on. And you have to make sure you didn't lose them. Yeah, those were a pain. All right, so now we're gonna do some music themes here. So I think I want to pick this up. I think. I just don't know if it's gonna be too busy with the polka dot background. Let's pick it up in black and let's see. Yeah, there was no flash drives, you know, no CD-ROMs. We have floppy disks. That's pretty cute. Let me see what else I wanted to touch. Let's see. Then we had VHS versus Betamax. We never had a Betamax. We always had VHS. And I used to have a lot of VHS, but we got rid of it. I should have kept it. Some of that is probably worth money now, but you know, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Let's see, I want to pick up the Walkman here from this. Oh, and laser discs. Oh my God. My dad went out and bought a laser disc player. And so basically a laser disc was a huge CD. It was the size of a record, if not a little bit larger. And you would put it in the machine and it would read it like it was reading a CD, but it had a movie on it. And I don't know what possessed my dad to go and buy one, but my dad liked gadgets. So, and we were like, okay. I remember my brother and I being like, yeah, I don't really think this is gonna work. But yeah, he had to have one. Yeah, it never made it, it never took on hold or whatever. It was a flop basically. So I'm not even sure if anybody still has any of them anymore. It's not like, you know, a record, an LP, those will be around forever, I think. In my opinion, anyway. I'm just trying to make... because they always did get tangled up. Your headset, the cords always got tangled up. It's pretty annoying, actually. And let's see, what else do I want to put on here? I want to put, where is it? Let's put the cassette. Because you can't have a Walkman without a cassette player. And you know, we had the boom boxes. Those used to bring to the beach and used to blast your music at the beach. And they sucked up your batteries. The CDs, 1982, the first compact disc player arrived, which was pretty cool. I didn't even realize. And then the Discman. I had a Discman. Discmans were nice, but you had to be careful because they would skip if you were rough with them. So yeah, but I had a Discman and I used to use it all the time. That was fun. Yeah, I remember when the Challenger exploded. I was in school and we were watching it. Yeah, so that was not fun, but it was actually really sad. You can Google that. That happened in 1986. And then something that was amazing that we never thought we would see in our lifetime was when the Berlin Wall came down. That was, and I remember sitting there watching things going, oh my God, this is like so amazing. These people, they're free now. Like, no more communism in Germany. It was amazing. And I remember people picking up pieces of the Berlin Wall and keeping them as the like trophies or whatever. So yes, the 80s was a really nice place, really nice time to grow up, I think. And I know people pick on Gen Xers and stuff, but you know, we were left to our own devices for the most part. My parents were much stricter because they are first generation Americans, so they were strict. Like there was a lot of things I couldn't do that a lot of these kids could do, and my parents never left us alone like that. We were not latchkey kids, and if you don't know what a latchkey kid is, it was a kid that came home that had a key on a lanyard so they could let themselves in the house while their parents were working. Both of my parents did not work, and when my mom did go back to work, my grandparents lived with us, so there was always somebody around to take care of us. We were never left alone. That wasn't part of our culture. So unfortunately for my kids, they never got left alone either. So, and should we hit some popular 80s movies? So let's go with the Breakfast Club. Absolutely. Classic. The Goonies. Classic. Beetlejuice. E.T. The Princess Bride. Never Ending Story. Indiana Jones. I remember going to see Indiana Jones with my dad, and I wanted to be an archaeologist after I saw that movie, but then I realized there's a lot of spiders, so I said no, I don't want to do that anymore. And then of course Die Hard, and then VHS. We used to go to Blockbuster and rent VHS tapes, and you had to rewind them. If you didn't rewind them, you would get a fine or a fee or whatever. It was ridiculous. And then as far as toys, there was Cabbage Patch Kids, which I couldn't stand. Care Bears, I was not a Care Bear kid at all. And then, you know, there was Transformers and the Rubik's Cube, Nintendo, Super Mario Brothers, Legend of Zelda, Duck Hunt, which I loved playing Duck Hunt. So, I mean, the 80s just had so many great fun things, and I think it was a huge stepping stone for what we have now, for what the kids have now, for what we grew up with computers and video games. I mean, it all just progressed from the 80s. At least that's my opinion. I could be wrong, but you know, you have to start somewhere. Progress starts somewhere. And I think it started with the 80s, and I think the 80s need to be given some more value. You know, I think people need to stop picking on Gen Xers and just realize the contributions that we've made so you guys could have the things that you have now. But it's the same thing with the generation before us, the boomers, the sacrifices the boomers made. And I don't know what's before the boomers, but what was the one before the boomers? That was an important one too. But every generation has made an impact or done something, so the generation that follows gains from what the previous generation has done, if that makes sense. So let me finish this up and I'll show you the final set. So the generation before the baby boomers is the silent generation. So 1928 to 1945. So I just wanted to clear that up because I couldn't remember what they were called. But this is my completed set. I hope you liked my babbling about the 80s. I'm sorry, I just love the 80s, and growing up in the 80s it's just very special to me. So I had a great time. I graduated high school in 1987, so now you know how old I am. But yeah, it was a nice time to grow up. You know, we had great music, you know, great friends. You wanted to talk to your friends, you got on the phone, whether you had that cordless phone, if you were lucky to have a cordless phone. Otherwise, you had that really long cord where sometimes you would try to drag it into the bathroom so nobody could hear your conversation. Otherwise, your whole family heard what you were saying. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. But anyway, so please go follow Lorna Nail Crusade on YouTube and Instagram. She does some amazing artwork, and she really does some awesome collaborations. They're just so much fun. Just like this history of nail art. It's been a blast doing this. Absolutely love it. So thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and comment. And I will catch you in the next one.